All right, let's dive right into one of the most maddening problems you can run into with your car. You turn the key, you hear that familiar hum from the back, the one that tells you the fuel pump is running, but the engine, it just cranks and cranks and cranks. You got no fuel pressure, and you're completely stuck. Don't worry, today we're going to crack this case.
So, if this sounds familiar, you know exactly how frustrating this is, right? The pump is making noise, it should be working, but for some reason, the fuel just isn't getting where it needs to go. It's a classic automotive puzzle, but we're going to follow the clues together and figure out exactly what's happening under there.
To solve this, we've got to think like detectives, and that means we need to understand the crime scene, the fuel system itself. What even is fuel pressure, and why is not having it such a showstopper?
Think of fuel pressure as your car's blood pressure. It's the force that literally shoves gasoline all the way from the tank, up through the lines, and to the engine. Your fuel injectors are waiting for a very specific amount of pressure, usually somewhere between 40 and 60 psi, so they can spray a perfect, fine mist of fuel. If you have no pressure, you get no spray. And if you have no spray, your engine is starving for fuel, even if you have a full tank of gas. That hum you hear? That's only half the story.
Every good investigation starts by looking at the most obvious suspect. And when it comes to zero fuel pressure, our prime suspect is almost always the fuel filter. Seriously, this is the single most common cause of this entire headache.
The failure can be ridiculously simple. First, a filter can just get so packed with rust and junk from the gas tank that it turns into a solid brick. Nothing's getting through that. Or second, and this one is a little sneaky, it might have just been installed backwards. Most fuel filters have an arrow showing the direction of flow. If you put it in the wrong way, it acts like a check valve and stops the fuel cold.
Now, it's really important to know we're talking about two different kinds of filters here. You've got your inline filter, which is usually a metal can somewhere under the car along the fuel line. That's a normal maintenance part. But then there's the in-tank strainer, which most people call a sock. It's a little mesh bag attached to the very bottom of the fuel pump inside the gas tank. If that thing gets totally clogged, the pump can't even suck fuel in to begin with. Knowing which one you're dealing with is a big deal, because one is a quick fix, and the other means you're probably going to have to get into the fuel tank.
Okay, so what if the filter is clean? Well, then our investigation has to expand. We need to start looking for accomplices along the fuel's path. And that brings us to the fuel pressure regulator and the fuel lines themselves.
So here we have three main possibilities. Your fuel pressure regulator could be stuck wide open, which just dumps all the fuel right back into the tank instead of building up any pressure. You could also have a major clog somewhere in the line itself, maybe something that got past the filter. Or, and this is the one you really have to watch out for, you could have a serious fuel leak.
And I really can't say this strongly enough. If you even think you have a fuel leak, you need to stop. A puddle of gas under your car is not just a symptom of a problem, it is an extreme fire hazard. This has to be your number one priority to find and fix right away.
This chart lays out the difference pretty clearly. A clogged line, that's an internal issue. You're not going to see any signs on the outside. But a leaking line? Oh, it makes itself known. You'll have that powerful smell of raw gas, and you'll see a puddle or drips. The cause is different too. Clogs are from junk on the inside, leaks are usually from rust or physical damage on the outside.
All right, so we've checked the filter, we've looked at the regulator, we've inspected the lines, and there are no clogs or leaks. So what's left? Well, this is where our investigation takes a plot twist. What if the problem is an inside job? What if the fuel pump motor is running, but the pump itself has failed internally?
This is exactly where a lot of people get stumped. All the obvious stuff checks out, and that humming sound from the pump is totally throwing you off the scent. But this is precisely when you need to look closer, inside the pump assembly itself.
This right here is the key distinction to understand. The hum you're hearing is just the electric motor spinning. That's it. But the actual pumping of fuel? That's a mechanical job, done by parts like an impeller. And it is absolutely possible for that little motor to be spinning away, doing nothing, while the mechanical parts that are supposed to move the fuel are completely broken.
So how does that happen? Well, there are two main ways. First, the pumping mechanism itself, the impeller or Jeter rotor, can literally break apart inside its housing. The motor spins, but there's nothing there to actually move the fuel. The second culprit, and it's a common one, is a small hose inside the fuel pump assembly. If this little hose cracks or just pops off, the pump will happily build pressure and then spray all that fuel right back into the gas tank. None of it ever leaves to go to the engine.
Okay, we have identified all of our suspects. Now, let's put it all together. It's time for a clear, step-by-step diagnostic plan so you can get out there and actually crack this case yourself.
Just follow these 4 steps in order and you'll find your problem. Step 1. Just confirm what you already know. Turn the key to the on position and listen for that 2-second hum. That's our starting point. Step 2. Always start with a fuel filter. It's cheap, it's usually easy to get to, and it is the most common point of failure by a long shot. Step 3. Use a real fuel pressure gauge. Hook it up to the test port on your fuel rail. This isn't optional. This is how you confirm for sure that you have 0 pressure. And finally, step 4. If all of that fails, it's time to go into the tank. Pull the pump assembly out and inspect it closely. Is that strainer at the bottom caked in grime? Is that little internal hose cracked, brittle, or just completely disconnected? This is how you'll find your culprit.
And there you have it, the complete case file on why your fuel pump might be humming away with 0 fuel pressure. From a simple, clogged filter to a sneaky internal failure, you now have the knowledge to follow the clues and solve the problem. So, are you ready to solve your fuel puzzle?